Yo, what's your boy Ghost here, and today I'm bringing you guys another comparison video between the newly buffed Kilo and M13. Now, I know it's been a minute since I posted a comparison, and for the new people that I've just recently subbed to my channel, you wouldn't really notice, but I actually tend to post quite a bit of comparisons. That's mostly what I like to post, aside from the actual obvious gameplay videos. But, you know, that's actually what I built my channel on, and like I said, this last month I haven't really been doing that just because, like, comparisons at the last month just haven't been necessarily enticing to me, just because like I haven't really had any specific conversation I wanted to have. But now with this new season 4 reloaded update, with the return of a lot of these OG Modern Warfare weapons, it was time to come back. And actually, funny enough, this comparison that I'm making, when I did this like 2 years ago, was actually my most viewed video up to this point, aside from like this funny 2K shoe video that I made, that to this day I don't even know how I got that many views. But we're throwing it back, man, because 2 years later, man, the guns are back. The Kilo M13, along with other weapons, were buffed, and, you know, there's conversations that these guns could be meta. Now, I've been talking to a lot of people through my comments, and just overall understanding, like, some people say the NZ41 still might be good, or the bar, and that's fine. You know, I haven't used those weapons personally, but I do think that the Kilo M13 have some sort of role in this meta, just because they definitely feel really good, which we're not going to talk about. But actually, man, before we just get into this comparison, I want to say, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. One donor to 3,000. We just hit 2.11K. So we're getting closer and closer, because the support you guys have been giving me has just been insane. I genuinely appreciate all you guys, because you guys are amazing, bro. Thank you guys. But yeah, man, with that being said, like I said, hit that sub button, man, because there's a lot of conversations to be had with these comparisons. But yeah, man, with that being said, let's get into the comparison. And here we have the recoil pattern for the Kilo, but if you've already been here since day one of Warzone, you would already know that this gun has no recoil, and to this day, still has no recoil. And that is probably one of the best qualities that this gun has, just because right now with Vanguard, typically the metas nowadays with these guns for Vanguard, it's just no recoil. And I feel like the AMAX, although it is pretty good, better now, and like it actually feels like it's a monster. The one thing that might turn away players from using that gun over any of the other guns that are still pretty good in, you know, whatever game that came from, like NZ41, Kilo, M13, you name it, is just the fact that the AMAX actually requires some skill to use because it has recoil. All these other guns don't. They just shoot straight. And that, you know, that's not a knock on the Kilo, because I love the Kilo. The Kilo meta, by far my favorite meta of all time in Warzone. I wish we could just go straight back to Modern 55 Kilo, rocking it in Verdansk. That would be ideal. Obviously we can't go back, but that'd be fun. But anyways, the buff that they ended up actually doing for this gun is to actually overturn a nerf that they did like a year ago, and just in general up the damage. So what they ended up doing was they ended up removing the mid damage step, or steep, or whatever. But basically what happened like a year ago, I believe, it's been some time since this update, but they ended up nerfing it where at a certain point the damage just dropped off completely. So it would go from like a 14, 13 shot kill, and then it just 17, just straight, just a drop. They ended up removing that and just increasing the minimum damage from 20 or to 23 from 18. So overall, just made the gun more powerful, and it definitely feels like that. It doesn't feel like crazy where, oh, this gun's gonna have to get nerfed, or this gun's completely ridiculous. It's not an NZ41 by no means in terms of damage. I think it's a perfect gun now, in my opinion. Maybe they might decide that it's too good, they might nerf it, you never know. But I definitely think it's in a great place right now where it's very viable no matter the meta, and you could use it without getting penalized for trying to have fun or throw it back to an old weapon. Now the M13, this gun didn't really get, well, I got, you know, it's only the neck damage multiplier, which, the way the gun works, it shoots really fast, so it kind of kicks up a little bit, so it does help it. I think if the gun would have gotten, like, more minimum damage increase, maybe body damage increase, this gun could have been a little bit, you know, a little bit more talked about. But for me, you know, between these two guns, I think they're very solid. They're very, I would say, equal to what they do. And it just, these changes allowed for them to just be viable in today's meta, because, you know, obviously before these updates, no one was really using these guns. You know, occasionally used it here and there, but, you know, there would be times where it would lack something. And I think these updates helped it fill that gap on what they were lacking. But anyways, man, with that being said, we're just going to move over to the M13 and some stats. And here we have the recoil pattern for the M13, which is also another no recoil, low recoil weapon. I remember back in the day though, it's funny that this gun was heavily worshipped, and even now I think it still kind of is because, bro, back in the day when I used to make M13 comparisons, bro, people would swear that it was the best AR in the game. Something about being fast, time to kill. Hey, bro, I had a lot. It hurt in my head, man. And for me, if you guys watch my M13 video, like I dropped 2 days ago or a day ago, you will know that I was never really a big fan of the gun. I always had negative things to say about it. And now I kind of take it all back because this gun now feels pretty good. It really does. Although the update was or the buff was, I would say, kind of minimal because it was just neck damage, and really like in a gunfight, neck damage half the time doesn't really like, you know, you're not gonna be hitting the neck. You might find yourself like on your way to the headshot, but you know, neck damage. If they would have done a little bit more, then maybe the M13 could be just in a completely different conversation right now. But maybe that's why they didn't do a lot more, because they didn't want it to be that crazy to the point where people were like, "Oh, this gun, like, we need a nerf," and after it just got buffed. But anyways, man. Moving on to the first set of stats that we're going to talk about is the fire rate, which both these guns actually have a pretty high fire rate in comparison to like the guns that we've been using so far. But for the Kilo, we have a 751 RPM, and then for the M13, a 891 RPM. Now, 891 RPM for M13, or for an AR with like no recoil, is kind of crazy. So it actually makes sense why this gun was like kind of a pea shooter, marshmallow shooter, whatever. And I'm actually glad that it got, like, now thinking about it, it got like a decent damage buff without making it broken in to the point where it's like, okay, you have no recoil, fast fire rate, and high damage. Like that combination, and we've had a couple guns like that where it's just ridiculous, bro. Like the combinations just didn't make sense and made them broken. I'm glad that they found a way to not break this gun to the point where we're gonna be complaining about it in like 2 weeks. So that's definitely W. But anyways, man, moving over to some set of damages for the Kilo. For 0 to 32 meters, you got 42 damage to the head, 28 to the neck, chest, stomach, and extremities. Now the damages don't really pop out to you, especially like in comparison to a gun to the NZ41, which is understandable because this gun on paper doesn't seem that powerful, which, you know, it's how it is. And then for the M13, for 0 to 34 meters, you got 36 damage to the head, 31 to the neck, 24 to the chest, stomach, and extremities. So obviously right there, the 31 damage to the neck is where you're going to see this buff. It went up by quite a bit, so, you know, that's where you're going to notice the difference. And again, on paper, these two guns don't really pop out to you because, you know, damage-wise, number-wise, they're not that great. But I mean, look, if you use these guns, you know, like, stats don't tell the whole story because, you know, we're talking about these guns being like top 3 ARs right now because of how good they feel, and the stats don't even like paint the whole picture. But anyways, man, moving over to the last set of damages. For 32 meters for the Kilo, you got 34 damage to the head, 23 to the neck, chest, oh my god, stomach, and extremities. And here is where the minimum damage buff comes into play. All those 23 numbers used to be 18, now they're 23, so again, more powerful at range. And on top of that, damage drop buff seems, I'm pretty sure, it got taken away. Then for the M13, 34 meters in the way, we got 30 damage to the head, 26 to the neck, 20 to the chest, stomach, and extremities. So again, like I said, man, these two guns on paper don't seem like the greatest. Now the fire rate and the no recoil really help it make its case. But like damage wise, you would think like, oh, these guns are, you know, mid, they're not gonna be that great. And maybe now, like, they may not be #1 meta. Maybe they will be meta for like a week until we all find a gun. Actually, I've been seeing a lot of people talk about the KG40. So I really gotta check that gun out because everyone right now is saying that's the meta, or at least for the fact, or at least a lot of people are starting to use that gun. I gotta check that out. I gotta level it up because I need to see what that gun's all about. But these two guns, man, maybe they won't be meta, but at the very least, we can now have more options to use when things get stale, and we don't have to get punished for using guns that we want to have fun with, which is actually, I think that's maybe what they were going for, because like I said, bro, number-wise, they may not be meta-worthy. Like I said, bro, the NZ41, in terms of damage, essentially, like, doubles them in most categories. Not maybe that's a little exaggeration, but, you know, obviously the NZ41 was more powerful, the bar is more powerful, and just a lot of these newer Vanguard weapons in general are more powerful. The thing is, though, one thing that a lot of people may not realize, but bullet velocity wise, Modern Warfare weapons actually still, I'm pretty sure to this day, have the best bullet velocity out of all 3 games, which is kind of crazy because you would think as time went on we would have had guns that either competed with them or at very least bested them in that term category, or in those categories. But, you know, here we are. But anyways, man, in terms of this comparison between which one I would pick, because maybe you have been wondering this, and which one is better, which, to be honest, like, I think they're both kind of in the same case. Like, I don't know if you could really at this very moment pick one over the other, but if I had to pick one, I would pick the Kilo. There's a little bit of bias there, I cannot lie, because I do, like I said, Kilo is definitely my favorite meta of all time. But in general, man, even since like the beginning of the Warzone, I've always thought like the Kilo would be better than the M13. Even in my last my comparison 2 years ago, I said the same thing. Yes, the M13 does like have the fire rate advantage, but I feel like the Kilo essentially does everything else better. That's my personal opinion, though. You know what I'm saying? My personal preference. You guys will definitely have your own personal preference, which is okay. But yeah, man. With that being said, let me know what you guys think about both these guns in the comment section below. Like I mentioned, bro, don't expect these guns to really be like meta, and I'm not saying they're meta, but what I will say is that they're back into the rotation, and it feels great that they're back into the rotation. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. See you guys next one, and I'm out. Peace.